Thank you to Nuna for sponsoring this video today. Sakura, did you really just make a whole video telling people to take time off work and rest due to burnout? Yes. Hi everyone, Okaeri back to my channel. This is Sakura and I'm based in Tokyo. Today I'm talking about something that is extremely prevalent and almost omnipresent nowadays in tech working culture, and that is burnout. I'm making the video that I wish I had when I was going through this to help recognizing the signs of burnout and also navigating myself back to health. So what is burnout? Under WebMD, which is interesting because they have officially put this under their mental health section in their website, it says burnout is a form of exhaustion caused by constantly feeling swamped. It's a result of excessive and prolonged emotional, physical, and mental stress. In many cases, burnout is related to one's job. I mean, one website says a study of more than 36,200 tech workers find that 2 in 5 employees want to quit due to excessive stress, exhaustion, and broken work-life balance. Or here's another interesting headline. Silicon Valley's workforce is feeling more burnt out than before the pandemic, with nearly 70% reporting work-from-home exhaustion. There's so much coverage on media about this topic, but I feel like we don't talk about it enough because it's still something that is stigmatized, where if you're too burnt out, in our industry we always talk about how being healthy is on you. It's your own responsibility. So if you feel like if you're burnt out, maybe you feel like most is your fault, or maybe it's not so easy to talk about in an environment where it's always corporate, right? Like when we go to meetings and you ask somebody how they're doing, you're never gonna say, oh yeah, everything is completely terrible and I can't go on. People say that burnout is common in tech for many different reasons, including the culture itself. It's a really high pressure environment. It's extremely fast paced. The expectations are always really high. You may feel like your impact at work may be not even meaningful or very little comparatively to the whole organization that you're working for. Whatever the reason may be, you are not alone. It is so much more common than you think. And I'm going to start off by telling you how I felt in my story. When I look back on my career, I think of 2 points that I really felt burnt out, and I'm going to talk about the most recent one because that's the one that's most fresh in my head. This was when I reached, I think, about the 1.5 year mark at my previous job, and I felt like I had gotten the hang of the job, that I was good at it. Everything that I did was nothing new to me, so it was losing a little bit of the excitement that I initially had when I joined, but I still wanted to make an impact because I like the work that I do and I wanted to help grow our business and help grow our team. But I quickly realized after kind of mastering that role itself that this was not the role that I wanted to do in the long term, and started to also think about what I wanted to do more in mid to long term career. So that's when I started to kind of have doubts about like how I'm feeling towards a job, and that's when I think the burnout was triggered, because at that point, although I felt like I was doing good at my job, the job itself, which was recruiting, always demanded so much time and work, and it was always kind of like a moving goalpost. So the nature of my job itself has always been really high pressure. And after a long time, maybe a couple of months, I started to really lose that motivation. I remember distinctly just waking up and feeling so much heaviness in my chest, in my heart, that I couldn't really get up physically. One thing that really surprised me was my inability to focus when I was working at home. So all of these things, and also at the same time when I was starting to work from home and getting used to that, feeling more isolated, and I realized how lonely I felt, was when I started to kind of deteriorate in my health, both physically and mentally. And at first, I didn't really think anything of it. I definitely have periods of ups and downs in my life, so I thought this was just one of those tough times. But when it lasted for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and 6 months, those physical symptoms that I talked about were really taking over my life. And so for the first time in my life, I thought, I really need help. Like, this is not good. This is not okay. And what I ended up doing was going to a psychiatrist for the first time. And that's when I found out that I was actually clinically very, very depressed. I was in shock, not because I was surprised. I was like, oh yeah, that definitely makes sense. But I felt like I had gaslighted myself my entire life to think that, oh, this is just a phase. Oh, this is just something that I'm going through and I'm gonna get better. And now I go through the times in my life where I have felt the same way and think, imagine if I had asked for help then. Maybe I would have been a lot better, a little bit more stable now. But that's, I digress. I'm not saying that burnout is always equating or correlated to depression, but I do feel like one can trigger the other. So I just wanted to put that out there, that burnout didn't only become just a thing that I had to deal with, but it was actually affecting me so much that it was detrimental to my health in so many ways. So that's why I'm talking about it here. That's why I want you to watch this video and think, am I burnt out? Because if you can recognize it, then you can start to take action to try to redirect yourself again back to health. So now let's get to the fun part, which is talking about the symptoms of burnout, or what I call the 4 horsemen of burnout. These 4 things are not particularly red flags in itself, and sometimes actually we all feel this from time to time, but when you're feeling these things, one or a few or all of them consistently over a period of time, it might be time for you to look at it and evaluate it and think, am I happy? Am I healthy? And if I'm not, how can I get the help that I need, or how can I do the things that I need to in order to get better and feel better? So the first one is the one that was most prominent for me, and that is the sense of dread. Have you ever woken up and the first thought you have is, I can't wait to go back to sleep today? That is something that I always felt when I was really, really burnt out. And then on the flip side, before I go to bed, I had so much anxiety about the things that I needed to do at work that I could not sleep. I would stay up all night thinking about the things that I had to do and worrying about that, and then worrying about worrying. I'm already an anxious person, but this anxiety level just shot it through the roofs that, again, I had lost my appetite and I couldn't even sleep. So the second symptom is definitely more obvious than the other one, which is exhaustion. This can be mental exhaustion and probably leading to physical exhaustion, or vice versa. One example that I want to talk about exhaustion is every little thing that I did start to feel like this gargantuan task, like a Herculean task almost. Even though the task itself is so easy, it paralyzed me so that I didn't even know how to get started. It would be something as silly as creating a calendar event and inviting people and finding the time for people to meet. That sounds like the easiest thing ever, but I was so stressed about it, and therefore stressed about all the other little things, and it starts to become so overwhelming that I started to kind of shut down. That is definitely a big, big sign. The third thing is a little bit more tricky, because you can actually have this as a quality, as a person, which I actually am. So this is cynicism. Cynicism to me felt like this. Even though I did good work, I know that I'm a hard worker, I know that I'm an ambitious person, no matter what I did, I really didn't feel like it made a difference in anything. Even if I did a cool project, I felt like nobody cared. And I felt like that can also come from not getting the recognition that you deserve, or not advocating for yourself and therefore not getting that recognition. It could come from feeling like you're a part of a much, much bigger team, so your impact is therefore a little bit smaller. Whatever the case may be, you start to feel a little bit doubtful about your place in the team, and you're like, why am I here? Does anything I do even matter? That questioning leads to then a statement of, nothing I do even matters. If I disappeared right now, nobody would care, nobody would even notice. And that mindset is really dangerous. Last but not least, and I think this is one of the hardest things for someone who really wants to excel and love their career, is detachment. You start to pull away from the work. Things that you used to care about don't feel meaningful anymore. You really start to shell yourself inward and then block out everything else, because anything at this point can be a trigger for you to feel overwhelmed or feel stressed. And that's no way to live. So that is your body legitimately telling you that it may not be physical, but even mentally telling you that, hey, you need to do something. I need to rest. My body is shutting down, and you need to listen to that. Prolonged symptoms like these are going to have an absolute detrimental effect to your health, and I don't want you to have that. Then you ask yourself, so now what? I'm burnt out. And that's where I can help you. There was only one shining solution that I think will definitely work for everybody. And it's funny because it's such a simple solution, but it's really hard to execute. And that is rest and reset. Resting and resetting yourself. Because of my experience and my diagnosis back then, I was actually recommended by my psychiatrist to take time off from work. And I ended up taking about 4 weeks. At first, when he told me that, I was like, there is no way in I'm gonna take 4 weeks off of work. That's a whole month. I didn't think it was feasible. So I've definitely felt an initial resistance to it as much as I felt the guilt. My team was swamped then. It always is. I took the 1 month. And guess what? It took me 2 full weeks to not feel guilty about taking time from work, and the remaining 2 weeks to finally start to see some progress on me feeling better. Can you believe it? It takes even a few weeks just to detach from the work so that you can relax. And only after I was able to get that time to sit, not do anything, and only think and rest was I able to reprioritize myself. Because giving the space between yourself and work will help you recognize the things that are actually the root cause of the problems of burnout. So what I'm trying to say is, please take time off work. Do it for you. Work will always be there. I promise you, work will always be there. The business can survive without you, but you can't survive without you. So you need to take care of yourself. If you are in the fortunate position that you have either mental health leave, sick leave, utilize whatever benefits that you have at your tech company to take time away from work. And I'm not talking about 1 week, I'm talking about like at least a few weeks. Very much preferably and very highly recommended to actually take off like days off. If you really can't, like if you absolutely cannot, maybe you can find pockets of time either working from home or getting, stepping away from the office when you need to on a daily basis to just get yourself that rest that you need. After all that and the rest and the reset that I needed, then it was a little bit more straightforward for me on what I need to do. For example, I need to set up more boundaries at work about work-life balance. I needed to do less of X, Y, and Z and then do more of, ABC. One of the first steps that I took was to start to build really small healthier habits. And there are so many resources to help you do that and help you with mindfulness. For example, one thing that I loved was Headspace, which is a meditation app. And then another resource that I want to share is the sponsor today of this video, which is Nuna. So Nuna is the Denmark-based company, and it made this really cool app called Nuna Companion, which is a little virtual alpaca chatbot that helps you structure your thoughts. Apart from it being like the most adorable alpaca ever, it helps provide kind of like a mental health toolkit for you to use in the app. And all of the content in this app is actually created in partnership with psychotherapists that are actually medically trained. They use all their tools and all of the content that they made based on CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And this is not something that they made up. CBT is one of the main forms of therapy that you do in normal licensed practice. Using Nuna is actually really easy on the app, and there's a couple of different categories and I'll take you through them. So if you go to the far left, this is like the main chat that you have with the alpaca every single day. So they will do a little check-in with you to see how you're feeling and if there's anything that needs to be addressed that you can record all in the journal here. If you go to the right of that, which is journal, this is actually a space to do a gratitude journal. So you can write down things that you're grateful for. And as you may or may not know, gratitude is actually one of the ways that you can feel instantly positive. So I really like referring back to this when I'm having kind of a bad day or just feeling down, because I can say, oh, these are the things that made me happy. So another really cool feature that I personally love using is this feature. You can actually do a self check-in and you can choose from this little emojis here how you're feeling today. And you can mark this really easily just by tapping, let's say, if you're happy today, the little circle thing here. So what it'll do is track how you feel on a day-to-day basis. And then if you go to insights and overview, you'll see how many times you felt that emotion, or I guess checked in with that emotion throughout the last, week or whatever dates that you want to set it to. So again, this is a really great way to kind of track how you're feeling over a longer period of time, which I think is really important in tracking your progress. So all of these tools, as I mentioned, are just things to help you manage your mental health that you can do by yourself without having to talk to anyone, which is kind of nice, to be honest, as an introvert. And I'll put the QR code here for a discount. Also put a code in the description part of my video today. And you can get 25% off for either monthly or annual memberships. They also have a 7-day free trial too if you just want to, play around with it and see how you feel. What I want to say in the end is that it's not easy feeling burnt out. You are going to be okay. You may not feeling it right now, but please take time away from work as much as you can in the way that you can, and then help reset so that you can start walking towards and taking the step towards being healthier and being happier. You deserve to not have to just endure or just survive at work. You deserve to like your work. You deserve to have a career that you want to grow and thrive in. And doing this for yourself is going to be so helpful, not just now, but for navigating, challenges in the future too. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it was at least a little bit helpful for you, and I really hope to see you in my next one. Thanks. Bye.